Hi, I'm Paul Seal from CodeShare.co.uk. Welcome to the 8th episode in this series where I show you how to build a website with Umbraco 13. In this episode, we're going to look at some CSharp and .Net features. We're going to look at the editor config, what it is and how it can help you with your code. We're going to look at how we can pre-build the .Net format command. So we'll look at adding that to the CS proj file so that it does a format every time we go to build. We're going to look at using primary constructors, see what they are and how we can use them and how they can neaten up our code. We'll also be looking at file scope namespaces, and then also we'll be having a look at global usings as well. So let's get into this then. We just want to start off by adding a editor config. Now, before we go any further, I just want to show you I did a blog post and it's got some useful commands. So it's called .NET New Umbraco, and it's based on a talk I gave at Umbraco Spark. It was a couple of years ago, I think now. But anyway, if you have a look down here, there's some useful .NET commands, and one of those is .NET New Editor Config. So what we can do is we can go into our command line of our project. So if we just in the package manager console of Visual Studio when we've got the project open, if we do ls to work out where we are, we can see that we're actually in the project folder because we know we're in it because we've got our app settings file and the program file is in there as well. So at this level, I just want to do .NET New Editor Config and press enter. And that will create an editor config file, and we can see that within Visual Studio. And Visual Studio gives you a nice user interface over this as well. And a couple of things I wanted to show you. So you can choose all the different values for these. So let's say like namespace declarations, you can do it block scoped or file scoped. So I'll show you that in a moment. And then you can do the severity, so it might just be only available when you do refactorings, or you might just want it to be a suggestion, a warning, or an error. So on this one I want it to be a warning. I always want to use file scope namespaces, and I'll show you what they are. And then here we've got the prefer primary constructors and make it a suggestion. So what we'll find now, if we do a if we just do a rebuild, we shall see some suggestions in here. So, oh, no suggestions whatsoever. I'm surprised at that. Code is so good, it doesn't have any suggestions whatsoever. Okay, I wasn't expecting no suggestions. Anyway, if we go into here, so you see how we've got this namespace freelancer.extensions. You see how we've now got an error. So convert to a file scope namespace. So if we just let Visual Studio do what it wants to do, so show potential fixes, convert to file scope namespace, and there we have it. So what it does is it just says, for this file, the namespace is this. So if we go back, we can see that we had a namespace, and then we had a curly brace, and then we had the class definition inside it. But if we put it back on again, undo that change, we can see that actually that goes there, and then that brings this in an extra level, so it's fewer indentations on your code, so it's nice and clean. Also, where we have things like our controllers, I'm not sure if we've done any controllers yet. Actually, we haven't really done much code yet. Have we done any code? No, the most code we've done is probably these. So a primary constructor, I can show you an example. So let's just do add a new folder, testing, and then we'll just do add a class. and we'll call it test class. So this test class, so now that we've got our editor config set up, straight away the new file got created with the file scope namespace for us, whereas before that would have been created with it indented the old way. So that's one thing. So this is our class for C#, and then when you create a class, you can also create a constructor. Now, if the constructor is going to be empty, you don't need to create one. So like public test class would be your constructor like this. But if that's not doing anything and it's just empty, you don't even have to have one. So you could just leave that empty. But we'll probably come to it on the future episodes, but I'll just try and give you an example. So maybe there's an interface that we want to pass in. So maybe we could do the iMedia service, which is an Umbraco one. So we do private read-only iMedia service and do it like that. And then what I usually do is I usually say generate a constructor for that. Just delete that one a moment. And then that assigns it to that. So that's how I'm used to working with classes. So now within this class, if I had a method that so I don't know, public do something, and then oh, it's a void. Let's just say it's a void. Public void do something. So var thing equals media service dot, I don't know, get type. No, that's just a generic method, but it can be anything. Get by ID, and then we could just put an ID in there like that. Right? Okay. So var thing equals that, blah blah blah. You get it. So anyway, that's how before would have used it. But let's just do a build solution, and we should see in the error list, we should see a suggestion, and that is saying, because of our editor config, that is saying, why don't you use a primary constructor here? So if we hover over this and show potential fixes, we could say use expression body for constructor. So does that, or we could say use primary constructor and use primary constructor and remove fields. So you see how we've got this private read only. We could do that one. So let's just click on that. So you can see that it's simplified it a lot. Where you have your class definition, you've got your class name here, you can actually put that, what you would have injected, into the constructor, and then you would have set to a private read-only variable. You actually don't need to set it anymore. You can just pass it into this, and then you can just use it within your method when you need to. Some people don't like this though, because where we had it before, it was a read-only one. And that meant that you can't actually change this. You can use it, but you can't change it. Whereas when it comes in like this, in theory, you can change it. So there might be some things that you wouldn't want to be able to change. And really, you're writing the code, so you know you shouldn't change it. But it takes your code from being that many lines to that many lines. So that's why it's quite useful. I won't commit this. Well, actually, I will commit this class just so you can see it. But yeah, that's just the example with the primary constructors, and also looking at the namespace as well. Let's have a look at what else we was going to look at. So we've got the editor config. We've got the primary constructors. We've got the file scope namespace. Let's have a look at the .NET format. So as I mentioned before, I have this, and there is a command called .NET format. So let's run that on our code. Let's go to Package Manager console, and we'll just run .NET format. And what that'll do is that will go through, based on the rules that are in our editor config, it will go through our code and it will make some changes for us. So we can see that it's gone through and it has changed that to file scope namespace, it has changed that to file scope namespace and removed the empty line at the end there. What else has it done? We've got our test class. What else? Oh, it's removed an empty line at there. So because we don't have that much code in this project anyway, it's not really done too much. But as we go into the future episodes, you'll see that it can help take care of that. And another thing we can do to help with that is we can, in our CS proj file, we can go in there and we can add something so that every time, just before it builds, we can get it to do .NET format for us. So you can put in here target name equals and call it pre-build, and then before targets equals, and then call it pre-build event. So this is the one we want to use. And then inside this, we'll say execute a command, and that command is .NET format, and we'll say severity 1, and we'll say verbosity diagnostic. So that's just some extra flags that we can use with the .NET format command. And then we just do that, save that. So if we put that line in correctly there, then every time we do a build of a solution, it will make it will actually update the code. So let's just, for instance, go in here. You see how we've got this namespace. Now, if we accidentally had that like this, put that in there. Now I'll do a save. If I do a build solution, we should see, if I'm right, we should see that this gets updated. Or is it rebuild solution? We'll see. Anyway, I thought that is what it would do, but maybe because I made that change, it's not going to do that one. Does it run the .NET format? Oh yeah, format complete. Let's just clear all messages. Is it doing .NET runtime, formatting code files? Yeah, it's done it. Maybe the rule on that isn't severe enough. Maybe it's just me. So where is that rule? File scope warning, primary constructors suggested. Yeah, I'm not sure why it didn't do it. I was under the impression that it would do it. Could it be that I've got the code open? Let me save my config file. Let me close all the documents. This is the sort of thing that I leave in, just because if it's confused me, it might confuse yourselves as well. That's interesting that, did I lose that? I think I didn't save changes to that. I don't know what's happened there. What is going on? Was that the file that I just changed? Weird. All right, so it didn't like that. Let's just write this class again. So if we do public class, and then we'll do test class again. And then we'll put iMedia service in there. Media service. So we are using that. And then we'll do public void do something. And then we'll just get media service dot get by ID 1 var thing equals. Right. So let's save all that, close it, build solution, and let's just go and see if it did affect our files. Yeah, it did. It updated the namespace for us, so that's what I thought it would do. So on that .NET format, which is going to run every time now when we do a build, it will update the file for us. So that's pretty cool. I'll leave that class in there for you as well. And then the other thing I wanted to show you was about global usings. So on my other project, this sample project that I've set up for us to work with, have I even got a global using? No, I don't think I have. Right, let's have a look at this. So we've got freelancer extensions. We've got common publish models and models publish content. Right. From .NET 6 or 5, I think it was, you had the ability, sorry, not .NET, yeah, .NET 6 or 5, you had the ability to use global usings. So we can go into the project, we'll do add and then do a class. And then we'll do global usings. So we're just going to call it global usings. And then in here, we're just going to delete all that and we're just going to do global using, and then those files that we've got here, we're just, as an example, if there's a reason we think we'll always need that, what we can do is we can put, I'll put, just for the example here, I'm going to put one in there for that, global using, one in there, oh, and then on this file as well. So you'll see what I'm doing in a moment. So global, and then like that. So if we do a build rebuild solution, now that I've just closed the files, let me just go back in. Right, let's have a look, see what happens. So you see how that gets grayed out because it knows about these classes already, these namespaces already. It doesn't need those in the file anymore because actually it's picking them up because we've got a global using file. So because we've got these global that's available in all of the wherever throughout our project, we don't actually need it. So you can reduce the clutter again in your classes. So it's a little bit like the view imports, where we had a lot of these like freelancer extensions and things like that defined at the top in this view imports. Then it means that you don't need to define it in all of your other things out here. So with the view imports, you see that content models equals this. That can go on the view input on the views, and the Umbraco CMS web common publish models. I think that one's not there, but we can cut that and put that in there. I'm not trying to confuse you on this, but so I don't want to cross them over, but I'm just saying they're very similar. So view imports is very similar to global usings like that. And then if we just do a rebuild, everything should be fine. And I just thought it would be good to show you those few things. And when it comes to working on your code, you getting suggestions because you've got your editor config that's saying about the styling of what you've done here. You can then, based on your style rules in your editor config, you can then decide on what rules you want to enforce or not. So this is saying convert it to a conditional expression, and that's simplified that one. And then on here, again, we've got another one as well. Right, so we just rebuild, and then we can do the null check on this one, can be simplified. Use null propagation, it's even shorter now. You do find sometimes that you get into a bit of a loop where you make one change and then it says, oh, you can do this now. But now I've got no errors, no warnings, and no messages. So ideally, when we're building our project, we've got our editor config rules in there. We've got our global usings and view imports and things like that. We know our styles that we want to do, and then we just tackle these errors, warnings, and messages along the way, and it will keep our code nice and clean. So that was all I wanted to say in this video, really. So if you like the video, please click on like, subscribe to the channel, share it with others as well. And please, if you are following along, please sign the guest book. Let us know what episode you're up to now, how you're getting on, if you're enjoying it, and if you're stuck or anything. And make sure to comment in the video if you need any help about that video. There's some really helpful people that will solve a problem that they had on that video and put it in the comments, and I really do appreciate that. And if you want to talk about a video and with some code examples, you could comment in the video and say, check the guest book. I've put a code sample in there or something like that. So it's where we can all just help each other. Anyway, the other thing as well, some people like to buy me a coffee. If that's you, then you can go to codeshare.co.uk, but otherwise don't worry about it. It's not required. So thanks ever so much for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.